Hi, and welcome to Storyweaving. I'm Sophia, your host. This is a story time where we share experiences that are strange and otherworldly that lead us onto the path of self discovery and spiritual seeking. Today, I have with us Angelica Cavesea, or how I was saying it, Cavesea.
Cavesea.
It's Cavesea.
Fancy. I'm basic.
uh, I met Angelica actually through the internets, which is the only way you can make friends after 30. So,
Facts.
right. Um, Angelica is a singer, she is a musician, she is your local resident goth vampire, a ceremonial magician, all of the things. And she just has a really cool vibe. And I think that we kind of vibe on the same wavelength of like, where's all the cool stuff? Where's all the like weird,
Yeah.
like, let's get weird. I
Let's
think
get
in
weird.
Yeah, let's get weird. I think in the spiritual and wellness industry, we tend to go in this whole like seeking and releasing and healing. And I'm like, let's get freaky. Where's all the weird stuff that happens to
Yeah.
us?
Let's have fun.
Yes. So today, Angelica is going to offer up a story of hers that maybe is a little wild and weird and led her onto the path of self discovery and seeking. So I'm stoked to hear what you have for us today.
All right. So I was filtering through all of my creepy, awesome experiences. And the reason I say all of them is because I've sought them out. I've been super interested in ghosts, mostly just ghost growing up because I figured they have to exist. Like, why wouldn't they exist? I think the main reason I figured that ghosts had to exist was because I couldn't imagine that, like, when I go to sleep, what is my mind doing on this astral plane? I'm like, I'm living an entire life outside of my body when I'm sleeping because I always had really like vivid well, they used to be night terrors. Thank the universe that I've been able to figure out how to like maneuver through my dreams because for a long
Hmm.
time I would almost have anxiety before I went to bed because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna end up in that fucking house again. I was always in this house, the same house, and there were sheets over all the furniture, and it was super creepy. And I'm like, what's in here? Anyhow, that has nothing to do with the story that I wanted to tell you. So, the one of the, I guess, pivotal experiences that I had in the realm of ghosts happened at this place in San Diego, and I was not prepared or expecting it. I had taken my sister, which me and all of my siblings are Scorpio, so we're all born between late October and late November. And so we've always been into Halloween and creepy stuff like that. And my sister, for her birthday, she wanted to go to San Diego. So I live in Southern California in the Hollywood area. And so it's only about a 2 hour drive to get to San Diego. And we decided to go and spend a weekend down there and do a little bit of dancing and partying and such. But on our way back, we were going to hit up this place called the Whaley House. It's spelled Whaley House. And I didn't know anything about this place, but my sister was super interested in going there because it's rumored to be haunted. And on our way back from, so we went to San Diego, we did our little partying, and then on our way back home we stopped at this house. And I remember just kind of making fun of everything in there because I'm
Hmm.
kind of into, like, for whatever reason, humor has always been like my cushion in life. It's like if I'm uncomfortable or a little bit afraid,
Yeah.
like, I'm just going to make fun of stuff. I'm just going to like make it funny.
That means you've
And so
had just enough trauma to have a personality.
big facts, big facts. It's like, what else
Cause
can I do
same.
but laugh? I'd rather laugh than cry, so let's just make fun of this shit.
Yeah.
Um, so we're in this house, and it's like an old, to be honest, like I didn't know anything about this house, so I can't really give you all the details and specs of like when it was built and all that kind of thing, but it was old, like a super old house, like probably built in like the 1800s or something like that. And they turned it into a museum. So now you can go there and they'll take you like on tours, and it's about 2 stories high. They have like old baby cribs and like relics. I don't know if that's right. Old
Yeah.
dolls. Oh my gosh.
I
Keep
don't
the
need
old
old
dolls.
babies.
You know what I mean? Ah. So at one point I was thumbing through this what would you call it? Like a photo album.
Uh-huh.
And they had like news clippings and pictures of the family. And I guess generations had lived at this house. And I'm looking at the pictures and I'm like high key making fun of everything. I'm like, look at his shoes, look at his head, he's got a big ass forehead, like making fun of these like people that have passed away. Shame on me,
Yeah.
right? So my sister is really excited about getting haunted. She's like, oh, I want to see something spooky. Like she's like hungry for it. And meanwhile, I'm like, that looks silly and that looks goofy and why did people dress that way and ew, that's old, and just, not really taking anything in this
Hmm.
house seriously. So we were on like a self-guided tour, which basically, if you go to certain rooms, there might be somebody giving like a history. There was a theater upstairs and there was somebody giving like I guess not history lessons, I don't know what to call it, but there's people throughout the house just kind of saying this is that and that's this and whatever. And I've always known that whenever you want to see like orbs and stuff like that, you take pictures and then
Hmm.
after the fact you look through the pictures and maybe you'll see a ghost or an orb. And we're facing this room, and so I'm trying to take a picture of one of the rooms and I'm looking through my camera and I see like somebody with a bonnet, like old school, like a
Hmm.
old school Victorian kind of looking dress with
Right.
like a bonnet. And I take a picture and then I look up and there's nobody there, bro. There's nobody there. Whatever I saw through my phone was not there. I freaked out. Like I started to cry. I was like, I gotta get out of here. I don't want to be in this house right now.
They were
Like,
like, not so funny anymore, is it?
exactly. They were like, this bitch is best to get it. How about this? So, and I apologize. I curse a lot. I'm
I'm from
done
the
speaking
East Coast.
curses.
That's all we do. That's our love language.
Thank you. Yes. You see me. I've been perceived. Um, so at this point, like I want to leave. Like I'm just like, yo, like this isn't fun anymore. Like I know what I saw. And the worst part of an experience like that is knowing that like nobody else saw it. So they're
Hmm.
not really gonna want to believe you at
Right.
all. You just like I started to almost feel overwhelmed because I felt a little bit insecure in even saying like for real, I saw it. I know what I saw in my like I saw it. And I feel like my sister was like low-key irritated because she was the one that wanted to get haunted.
Hmm.
And it was her birthday and now I'm the one that's crying and I want to leave. And she's just
She's
like,
like, it's not your party. I'm supposed to do that.
I'm the one that wants to be scared and crying. What the fuck? And I'm just like, okay, let's just go outside. So there were lots of other people in there because it was a museum and whatnot. And some of the people, I think for the most part, everybody that stops to visit that place is there because it's rumored to be haunted. That's why it's
Right.
still operating and open. And so a few people were, trying to comfort me and they were like, well, what did you see? Like, they're kind of like, tell us, like, we want to see it. And I'm like, I don't know. I just saw it through my phone. It looked like somebody was sitting in that chair. And I saw them, but when I looked up, they weren't there. And I didn't see the person's face, but I knew that it was a woman because of the way that she was wearing a bonnet. I
The
don't think
shape. Yeah.
people wore bonnets back
Right.
then. So we,
I mean, who are we
we
to judge? We don't know.
word, word. And, and,
Anyways, continue.
and in their next life, they're like, look, I'm wearing a bonnet. I've always wanted to wear a bonnet. I'm wearing a bonnet now. So, my sister didn't want to leave because she still wanted to get haunted. So we just kind of took a break and went outside onto the back of the property. And there was like a rose garden, and there was, it's so weird because honestly, I can't remember whether or not there was a tub back there. I think
Mhm.
there was, but I know that once upon a time there was a tub there. This sounds crazy and I sound like I'm all over the place, but it's almost like I'm pretty sure the tub is there in real life. But if
Mhm.
it's not there in real life,
It was
it
there.
was there at some point. Thank you for
Great.
sticking with me on this. So we're near the tub And I'm still crying, and I just feel so sad. Like,
Mhm.
it was an overwhelming just sadness, not because I felt bad for making fun of everything that was in the house, but just like a depression. Like, I just felt really, really, really
Mm.
sad, and I couldn't like shake it. I was just like, I was kind of like jittery, and I was like, I don't want to go back in there. Like, I know what I saw, I know you guys want to go in there, but I don't want you guys to leave me out here. Like, let's all stick together. It was me, my sister Amber, and her friend Mercedes. Shout out to y'all if y'all watch this. They're like, whatever. Anyway, anyhow, so eventually we do go back inside, and I was able to find somebody that was giving tours, and I asked them, like, whose room was that? Like, what's that room for? And the lady told me that it was a girl named Violet, and the girl had actually killed herself, and she killed herself by shooting herself in the backyard. Like, and the reason she killed herself is because she had gotten a divorce. Like, she married someone, got a divorce, and then couldn't find anyone else to marry, and she was lonely because back then that was a huge stigma.
Mhm.
Like, you're like
Right.
damaged goods at that point, like
Right.
way back in the days. And after the woman told me the girl's story, it stuck with me like really, really hard for,
Mhm.
to be honest, maybe like a couple weeks. Like, I was really depressed. It's almost like, if I were to just be completely honest, I almost feel like there were some parallel similarities because I've been divorced too. I'm 33.
Mhm.
I'm happily married now. We've been together for like 8 years, but I got married really young because I was a Christian, and that's what you have to
Mhm.
do if you want to have a boyfriend. Like, you can't just have a boyfriend; you better marry him, or else you're like going
Right.
to hell because you guys are going to be doing dirty things.
So
And
it
so,
actually isn't a stigma from so long ago. It's still, it's still like alive and
very,
well. Right.
very, very, very true. Especially if you come from some sort of religious background. It's like, oh, you don't get a divorce, and if you get a divorce, like, you're, you belong to the streets now.
Yeah.
But
I'm like, I belong
but
to the sheets.
amen. So yeah, the girl's story stuck with me for a while. And this happened, ooh, let me see. This was in maybe 2017, 2017. And so that's before I learned anything about ceremonial magic or just magic in general. When I used to
Mhm.
think of the word magic, I thought they meant like Chris Angel, like
Yeah.
levitating and like, I don't know,
Yeah.
escaping from a box, like in the
Right.
water. Who's that guy that did that? Evil Knievel? Somebody. Anyhow,
Uh,
who
Evil
was
Knievel
that?
did the motorcycle.
Oh, he's the motorcycle. That's not magic.
Yeah. His name escapes me right now, which is really funny. But I mean, that's the reason why there's the K at the end, was to differentiate between stage magic and ceremonial, which now at this point it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But I do want to touch on something. It's really funny because you said her name was Violet, and before this, while they were in my house, like doing the work they were doing, I was walking my dog and I was like, oh my gosh, these flowers are so pretty. And there are so many violets that have popped up. And I was just like, I just love them so much. And my husband's like, I never noticed them before. And I was like, yeah, I guess this is the first day they're popping up. So when you said her name, I was like, okay.
Another synchronicity
Heard.
related to Violet. Literally, I was trying to figure out what I was going to drink before the interview, and I try to usually save my kombucha for the evening, and like, I'll
Mhm.
drink my seltzer waters in the day to get some hydration. And
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I really want to drink this one, and it's a lavender love one. And I couldn't remember the girl's name to save my life because I tried to block out that memory because it was kind of traumatic.
Sure.
And so as I was sitting here waiting for the Zoom meeting to start, I Googled, I was like, who's the girl like from the Whaley house? And I saw that it was Violet, and I was like, I won't forget her name now because I'm sipping on a purple drink. Like, I'm not gonna forget her name. And there were also other people that like died on that property, but the main thing that I remember honestly is that girl's story. And I think that, and thinking about all of this now with everything that I know about like shielding and
Mm-hmm.
grounding and like filtering energy, I realized that I had actually almost connected with this spirit in a way that like I took on that depression and I carried it with me back to LA. I
Mm-hmm.
remember being back home and crying a lot. I was really sad. I felt like shit. Like I felt
Mm-hmm.
really, really bad. And I kept thinking about her and thinking about her and thinking about her. And trigger warning, I've experienced depression my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And I've thought about the really tragic S word a lot of times in my life. And there was something that like really stuck to me about that girl's story. And so I guess as a warning to anybody who ever wants to get haunted or who wants to, do all the woo woo crazy stuff, I think it's important to learn how to ground and filter and shield because you
Mm-hmm.
can carry things with you outside of that place. Like there, I almost feel like sometimes the energy wants to manifest itself more just because it's
Sure.
stuck there. And so it wants to be able to express itself again, almost like I don't want to call it demonic because I think that that word is like overused.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh, it's scary, it's a demon. Oh, it scared me, it's the devil. Like, but I think there's, positive intelligences that want to express themselves in the physical 3D reality, just like there are negative intelligences that want to find their way
Right.
into this 3D reality also. So don't make fun of dead babies and definitely don't go to some place wanting to get spooked because it just might happen to you.
Well, I think there's a major lesson here, right? Like, you know, not to like interpret your experience, but just joking with like about trauma and now knowing, your struggle with like mental health and stuff. I think that
Mhm.
those are like the little cracks, right? That allow that that fear or that like vulnerability or wound that allow those energies to seep in. Like that is what they're attracted to, right? And so like I have
Mhm.
clients that are like, I have this ghost in my house and I'll tell it to leave. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you like? That's not going to make it leave because you're doing it from a place of fear. I mean,
Yeah.
what you really want to do is like, you know what? I understand. I feel for you. Like that's what's going to
Yeah.
diminish this energy, right? Coming from a place of autonomy. And I
Uh-huh.
think that it's interesting that this woman really like the feeling I get is almost like flypaper, like she's
Yeah.
stuck with you because
Yeah.
I think that when we are in our lowest times, that's when we start seeking out like spiritual truths and self-discovery and like how do I like the medicine isn't working, the therapy isn't working, my life is not changing. There has to be another aspect that can help. And ultimately what we learn in ceremonial magic is like it's not about the woo woo and the like pizzazz and like willing things to happen in manifestation. Like people that are really in it are in it for like to have sovereignty, to have authority, to be
Yeah.
able to will things, to like be able to stand your ground. And I think that that's not just a physical thing. I think that's an energetic thing. So in this weird, you're talking about demonic, like people are like this bad energy, whatever. And I'm like, no, it's there for a reason. Everything has like a
Right.
divine reason. So I think possibly in my own interpretation of this is like by leading you to self-awareness and like probably pushing you down to pull you back up had some
Yeah.
kind of effect, transmutive effect, not just for you but maybe even for her as well. And I think it's cool. And in your sharing this, saying like you were feeling really insecure and scared and like not like that feeling of like I saw something but no one's going to believe me. Like this is exactly why I want to share these stories, because
Uh-huh.
those are the moments when you're like there is something bigger, there is
Yeah.
something more. And like even if you don't know it, high key, low key, whatever key, it is going to put you into the rhythm of some kind of like there's something else out there and there's something that I need to align to, whether it's the next day, the next week, or like a year later. And I think that it's really important that we share these like wild and crazy stories, as much as it like comes off as like, hey, we want to share these ghost stories and like let this be this, you know, this fun thing. It is fun, but like there's a divine purpose for this, and like I want to really try to eliminate the stigma of these things happening, because I think they happen a lot to people that do struggle with trauma and mental illness and stuff. And so I think that, like, am I crazy, or like people won't believe me? There's like a weird line that
Yeah.
we toe. It's like an insecurity that we all kind of have, and until we get past it, and even when we do think we get past it, then it gets crazier, right? Like, I think we
Yeah.
had the conversation, it's like I don't even need to take acid or anything anymore, because
Uh-huh.
spirit is like this whole other
It's
thing.
happening.
It's just like
It
it's
is
doing its
happening.
thing. It's intense. So like, you know, it gets more and more intense as your energy can hold it. And I think that, you know, for us that get insecure about what other people think, or like, am I crazy, or, you know, that line is, it's important to share these stories and let other people know, like, we're all a little crazy, and it's all fucking crazy.
Mhm.
But that is wild. And I don't know.
I
I'm very curious about the tub.
right. Right.
I'm
That's what
really
I'm thinking
curious
too.
about the tub.
I need to remember. I wish I could like Google Maps it and see if there's a tub sitting out there in the back. But I know that the woman that the tour guide, she mentioned that Violet shot herself like in her abdomen, and she
Ooh.
didn't pass on right away. And shame on me, because I'm always like, why would you shoot yourself there, bro? Like that's not
I mean, that's what I was like, that is some Elliott Smith, like,
no,
uh,
like calm down. Like, did you want it to work? Okay, sorry, trigger warning. I should not joke about mental health issues, but that's
no,
how
but
this
right.
is how I've survived. It's like if I could just
Sure.
make fun of it, then it doesn't hurt so bad.
Like, it was the first thought on my mind. Like, I would
Like
have,
that just seems like a awkward place.
I just
Uh
wanted to go. Like, if I were like,
quickly.
anyways, yeah, we should probably.
Yes. My bad. This is my
Now
fault. Do
you know what
not
this
blame
channel's about.
blame Angelica Cavesea.
Cavesea.
Cavesea. But I remember that the woman mentioned that since she didn't pass right away, she went out to the back, and she eventually was found either in the tub or near the tub. There was something about a tub.
Mm.
But with us talking about this right now, I'm actually having a bit of an epiphany. And I think that the main reason why I was able to see Violet, or she wanted me to see her, is because there was that degree of relatability. And I think it's true that like attracts like,
Yeah.
and frequencies that are on the same wavelength are, it's easier to just kind of see that because you're operating there also. And I think maybe it was important for that spirit to, I don't know, like okay, let me backtrack a little bit. In 2017, I got married in 2016.
Mm.
In 2017, there was a lot going on in my marriage where I was just like, yo, like this isn't fun. Like I'm
Mhm.
not enjoying this. Shout out to Alex, love him to death. He's great now. We grew up. It was rough back then. But I
Shout
think
out
that
to marriage for
shout out
like,
to marriage.
cuz
It's
it's
work.
not easy. It's not
It's
easy.
we talk about
It
that
takes
for a moment.
work.
It is work. I and this ties into even, you know, the spiritual journey that people go on.
Yeah.
We often think about all of the positive things that are associated to these paths, right? Like, oh, I want to get married and have a beautiful wedding and live a happily ever after with this person forever. We're going to be together forever. Okay, forever is a really long time, and most often you're going to grow and you're going to change, and you're
Mhm.
going to have these ebbs and these flows and these ups and these downs. So you got to prepare yourself for that part. It's the same way with spirituality. You're going to have those moments where everything is magic, and then those moments where nothing seems to be synchronized and there
Yeah.
is no magic, and am I going crazy, and why aren't people listening to me? Like, I went through a stage of wanting to tell everybody that magic is real,
Mhm.
magic, it works, I had a synchronicity, this and that. And a lot of people that I know personally were just kind of like, okay, that's cool. good for you. And I could
Mhm.
tell that they were just like, damn, like she won't stop talking about magic, And I think that with ghosts and spirits and all these subtle realities that aren't easily acknowledged or seen, it's easy for people to not want to believe what they're actually experiencing because they don't think anybody else is going to believe them. So it's like,
Mhm.
why would I say that I saw a shadow figure out of the corner of my eye for the last 2 weeks in my kitchen when people are just going to think that I'm, tripping? People are going to think
Right.
that I'm crazy or this or that. And so back to Violet, I think that maybe the reason I saw her and nobody else that I was with saw her was because she knew that I was gonna like actually pay attention to her energy and like recognize her energy. Like if I was a spirit, a disembodied spirit floating around on whatever level of reality, and there were people coming into my house all the damn time, like, I want to get haunted, I want to get spooked, I want to see you.
Mhm.
I'd be like, leave me alone. Like, I'm not in a zoo. Like I don't want to be bothered. That's how I would feel. If ghosts exist and are disembodied spirits of people that lived and existed on this plane, why wouldn't they take their personalities with them? I highly doubt Violet is in there just thinking, like, yeah, hi, yeah, I'm a ghost. Like, check me out. No, she's fucking sad. She killed herself there. Like, she's bummed out. Maybe the reason I saw her is because she's like, oh, you get depressed too. You've had a divorce too.
Right.
Like, we can relate on this level of sadness, I guess. And I, I want to believe that I want to believe that eventually, or maybe this was just kind of like an energetic imprint. Maybe this isn't even necessarily that this spirit decided that it's just gonna, exist in this room and go through the motions of feeling that sadness over and over. Perhaps it was just like a spiritual imprint of like that level of sadness was so drastic and dramatic that she actually followed through with, committing suicide. This is a
Right.
trigger warning video. I'm so sorry. I hope this is still usable for you because I'm talking about some really sad shit.
No, but I think I think this is important because it touches on a couple of things. And as being one of my first videos, I think it's important because this is exactly why I think we should share these stories, is because a lot of us do struggle with this in real life. And for us that are interested in the spirit world or mysticism or magic or whatever it is, or want to think outside of the box, we get kind of like blocked in because we're so scared of what people will think. And so what you're talking about, these two different things, like, this disembodied spirit, taking this personality with them. Well, I mean, if you read anything from Allan Kardec, which is, if you have not, please read Allan Kardec. He did some amazing experimentation, and he got some information from different mediums across the globe. And this is way before we had phones, so they couldn't talk to each other, and they asked different questions and got similar answers. And they talked about, if somebody dies from a traumatic event, or is very emotionally attached to the life that they had, which is usually through trauma, they have a little bit harder time of like releasing the envelope, and they get kind of stuck, right? But then there's also the other element of like an intense energetic imprint. And this is where you would think that we smoked weed before this, because this is where, like, this is real life gematria. This is all magicians do. This is all what magic people do, is like we just go through, we are like the embodiment
Rabbit
of like
hole.
Wikipedia world hope. But there might be like an intense energetic imprint of some kind of cataclysmic or energy that is vibrating. I mean, we all know about like energetic spots and what they pull, right? But again, those spots are divinely placed for a reason. So whatever the reasoning was, I think you nailed it. Like you were saying, like attracts like, and something slipped through the tracks, and or the cracks, and connected. And the way I would look at this, like if this were me and something similar did happen to me, the way I felt about it is like it led me somewhere. And I think that the energy that connected within myself, the whole like, I see the energy within you. Well, it's that like a that connects that other like. And there's got to be some sort of transmutation if we like find some absolute absolution.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yes. If we find some kind of absolution and recognize, and like you said, like a spirit is just looking to be recognized or to be seen. And honestly, like aren't we all, right?
Right. Right.
So
Who
like
wants
we're
to be
not living in
exploited?
this, it is, all the same. It's all reflective. It's all different. Like it is a disco ball. Like
Uh-huh.
the universe is a disco ball. That's all it is.
Totally. Totally. And
Um,
we're seeing it's like everything is a reflection of something internal, like as above, so below, as within, so without.
a
We see
thousand.
that everything that it's like a projection. It's like it's just bouncing. Everything that we're projecting out gets bounced back to us, whether we want it to or not. So it's good to try to project out. I guess it's just good to see if I'm able to kind of scan myself and figure out what's going on internally, then I'll always have one up on recognizing what's going on around me externally, because it's a reflection of what I'm experiencing already. It's just coming back to me like from outside of myself. I don't
Mhm.
know if that makes sense, but it
No,
makes
I mean, it does. And I think, again, that's like really like, people think it's all about charms and spells and whatever and like full moon like rituals. That's what it is. It's just self-awareness. It's self-awareness and
absolutely.
recognizing that you are one of everything and everything is one of you. And I
Yeah.
think that is it. It's not just about like the projecting and absorbing. It's that infinite symbol. And what you were saying about marriage, like understanding the ebbs and flows of it. So like when that intense part of your life starts happening and you're like, okay, like for me personally, I'm like, tower moment, let's go.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm constantly relating things to tarot cards. I'm like, I'm having a Four of Cups kind of day. How can I reverse it? How can I be more grateful? I'm having a Seven of Wands kind of day. I'm feeling good. I've leveled up. Like, there's
Well,
the tarot is
yeah.
like one of my therapists.
It's a book, right? But like and you live by the book. But I think that, it's funny because I have clients that are like, I'm just feeling like I'm going through a tower moment. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's
Yeah,
great. Because you're letting stuff go. Like that's what surrendering is. You're letting stuff go. They're wanting to create a new foundation. We got, for
yeah,
every low, we go high. But
yeah.
anyways, I digress. So back to Violet.
Yeah. So with Violet, I think that I've been the type of person where, because I've always wanted to know God, whatever that meant. I've like when I was a Christian, I wanted to be the best Christian. I was like, God is everything. I want it to be a good Christian, because I saw a
Mhm.
lot of people that I think to me, I kept thinking like, maybe you don't get it. Like, you got to be a good person because that's what Christianity is about. And oftentimes, because none of us are perfect. And I think that kind of shedding the idea of perfection being godliness helped me to realize that, like, even a moment like experiencing Violet in, her trauma and relating that to my own trauma or my own mental health issues, it's like that doesn't have to be like, oh well, that's the devil, that's bad, that's a,
Right.
a demonic evil spirit trying to make me sad. I think it was able to help me to see, well, another trigger warning, I think it was able to let me see the, I want to say, end result of allowing depression to really like get its foothold like in you, to
Mhm.
the point where you are willing to do something that's so horrible to your own self. It's like thinking about the fact that back then, being a divorcee made her so sad that she's like, all right, well, that's it for me. Like, it sucks. Like, what's the point in being here, right? Um, it's like that's outside of her control. And I've been able to reclaim my sovereignty in knowing that, like, all the things that caused me PTSD and trauma, all of my childhood issues, and even even problems that I created for myself in early adulthood, I was using the external world as I guess I was looking at the world as this horrible place that I didn't want to be in. I'm like, everybody sucks, everything is bad, there is no
Mhm.
good. Why struggle? You know, that would be the way that I would think whenever I'd get really depressed. It's like, I don't want to be here. This is lame. Like, what's the point? And realizing that, like, everything going on outside of me, if I can't control it, then I shouldn't give a shit about it. If I can control what's going on internally and just keep
Mhm.
doing that like internal scan often, especially when I feel like shit, then I can figure out how to heal that. And then I'll see more of that reflected in my life because it is
Mhm.
just kind of a mirror. And it's worked. It really has worked. And that's why I love ceremonial magic so much, because just me working on myself has made my life better externally. And coming into like spiritualism and esotericism and magic, especially witchcraft, like I think that witchcraft was kind of like a little bit of a gateway drug for me in the realm of spirituality, but not fully, because I couldn't claim the identity of witch just because I felt like that was more European than I
Mhm.
am. And so I was like, voodoo sounds more like
Mhm.
something that, you know, would work for me. And so witchcraft, voodoo, tarot, those were like my gateway drugs into spirituality. And I think that at first I thought like, okay, I'm gonna do a spell, I'm gonna light a candle, and shit's gonna change in my life.
Right.
But it was like, with ceremonial magic and learning about the Kabbalah and learning about all of these different paths of you know, the tree of life, and really just diving deeply into each tarot card and realizing, okay, if I am able to transmute and alchemize these things within me in a way where I find a rectification, it's naturally going to expose itself in my life, and like things will get better externally because of what's happening to me internally.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, because I tried reading tarot for folks for a bit, but I think I'm just still too sensitive. I'm still not having, like, I have a hard time shielding and grounding and such. So once I build that
Mhm.
better, then I figure I can be of better service, because I get frustrated. I'm like, no, what I'm trying to tell you is that yeah, you have to figure out why you're attracting these guys. I can read your cards about it all the time, but it's not about him. We're not going to fix him by me reading your cards about him. You've got to fix yourself. And I can't go around telling people how to heal or when to
Right.
heal. That's their own journey. But I guess I say all of that to just get back to the point of like, it's internal. Like, if you fix the inside,
Mhm.
then everything else outside of you, it's just going to work. You got to clean your own cup. You clean your cup,
Mhm.
and then whatever goes into the cup is drinkable. If you have a dirty ass cup, it doesn't matter if you put champagne in it, or if you put kombucha in it, or if you put fucking sparkling water or whatever. It's going to be gross because your cup's
Right.
gross. You got to clean that cup out.
Yeah,
I'm
I
all
mean,
over
we
the
talk
place.
it's okay. No, I mean, like, we talk about gateway drugs and stuff. I mean, I was very lucky that I was raised in a magical family, but as much as I do study and practice ceremonial and, Hermetic Kabbalah and all of that, the core of my practice is bhakti yoga, which is the yoga of devotion. And it always comes up every time I do an interview or I speak on anything. But the more, it's the same thing as the glass. There's a saying in bhakti that's like, it's like a window, right? The world is on the other side of the window, and so through the heart, you can like clean that window so that you can see things clearer. And I think that what you are kind of describing on this practice that you've cultivated through letting your depression take its stronghold and then understanding what practices works for you, is that ultimately that I think it comes down to like radical compassion, and
Mm.
then when you have that radical compassion for yourself, you start to do that to the rest of the world. Where, again, in Bhakti, one of my favorite writers, he writes like, it's that spirituality is like a perfume So like, it doesn't matter if you tell people like, oh, magic's the shit, or like, I love yoga, but like, not the physical practice of it, actually like the philosophy, it doesn't matter, because like you can get on that high and you can, but who, like you said, who am I to tell other people their experience? But when you wear that, when you hold it, and it is a piece of you, when you move through life, like you can't help but smell that sweet perfume, right? And I think that
Uh-huh.
we completely like, some people are like, I have to be of service, and I'm like, just doing that is being of service, because don't underestimate when somebody's wearing bomb perfume. You're like, where did you buy that? What is that? Is that eau de toilette, or is
Yeah,
that parfum? Like, it's the
yeah,
same, it's
yeah.
the same energy. And then when people start to see like, or they're seeing that there's a little bit in you that has this glow, they want to know what that glow is about. And if that's something they're interested in, it's going to grant them the confidence to like roll up. And I think that that's what we're seeing like in a lot of our communities, whether some of it's marketing or not. Ultimately, it's the word, right? It
Yeah,
all starts with the word. So I think
yeah.
it all puts it all out. So I think that's really cool. And I think that as much as this might have been a trigger warning for everybody, these are important things, and this is stuff that I think that needs to be talked about more, rather than just putting up an Instagram and saying like mental health is important, take time to yourself. No, we should really dive into the
Yeah.
stuff that makes us feel insecure, the world around us. Like, we are radical beings, we're not just people or spirits in human suits. We are magical, radical, like, I don't have the word for it. Like, I want to be like shaboom, shebang, shaboom. Like, we are these
Yeah,
things, and
we're
we're
everything, all of it.
we are everything, doing all the most and all the time. But and the world is doing that too. And so we have to find a way to come into harmony with it all. And I think that ultimately, if you are diving into spirituality, if you are diving into self-help, if you are diving into magic, on that thin layer on the top, yeah, it might look like candles and incense and a full moon ritual where somebody like plays a sound bath. But like, when you
Mhm.
get deeper into it, you see the place for that, and you see the place for the stuff that just feels icky and dirty, because you learn from that. And I think that with mental health, it's really important to that you recognized that
Mhm.
the spirit recognized you, and you recognize the spirit, and
Mhm.
it's that real energy recognizes real energy, because it put her somewhere, and this has put you somewhere. And I think that that is an
Definitely.
amazing story, and really what this is all about. So actually, I will still use this. Actually, this
Yes.
has been amazing.
Yay. And if I could, just a little side note, because I love the way that you described, the spirituality as like a perfume. It's like that scent will attract other people that are like, oh wow, that smells amazing. So to be the yang to your yin, I'm not sure which one is which,
Yang is
but
masculine, yin, I think that's what it is. Yang is masculine, yin is, but I'm half Asian and I don't even know. I
so to
don't even
be
have this.
well,
Sorry,
to be
Dad.
the yang to your yin, just to throw this out there, just like if you are clean and you put on perfume, you smell amazing. But
Hmm.
if you have not cleaned yourself, you could put on as much perfume as you want to, and it's just gonna smell like stinking ass perfume. So
Right.
please clean yourself and then put on the perfume. Don't just try to spray some candle magic on top of a turd, right? And
Right.
that's just going to be the last of my message for anybody who needs to just take that little jagged pill with the magic, because oftentimes in spirituality, and I suffered this in the very beginning, like when I first started to try to do the whole love and light thing, because I'm a Scorpio. I love the darkness. I want to know what the shadow work
Hmm.
is about. I want to get to the bottom of it. I love to dive deep. But let's not bypass the hard work. Let's
Right.
not just try to spray the perfume and love and light, and not deal with that shadow, because the shadow is where it's at. The subconscious is where it's at. Once you can
Yes.
get a hold and shine a light on the subconscious mind, that's when, in my opinion and in my experience, that's where the magic really happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. And, I'm a fall baby too, but I'm also a deep, deep, like, lover of Carl Jung. And I really, I really, I this is my own thing, and I try not to judge, but we all do it. I really get triggered when I see other people talk about shadow like it's a bad thing, when ultimately shadow is the stuff that is deep within your subconscious that has been suppressed by society, programming, and the other stuff. And that is the thing. That's the weird. Here's the lesson here. If you feel crazy, if you feel weird, if you think you're just own it. Just own it. And I know it's hard. And then going back to the tarot card, like, it's the Fool. That is the divine light that is in you. So it's through the shadow that you find this light. And so when people
Mhm,
are like,
mhm.
I was just on my shadow part, and I'm like, shadow's not bad.
Not bad.
The same
It's
thing that
not
ego is
bad.
not bad. Like, there's I mean, I think you and I can get into a whole thing, but um,
Yeah. We'll have to do this again soon.
yeah, but yes, I agree, and I think that this story was really a very pertinent um like example of that, because as much as that was heavy and that was, you felt it and it was deep, it brought you to some realizations, and in recognizing her pain, I think I would assume by the story that it made you really recognize your own pain.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I,
And acknowledge where it could take you. And
yeah.
sometimes it's nice to have um that realization of what really where you're actually going. It's almost like say if you use drugs recreationally. I'm sorry, I'm such an intense Scorpio. I'm always making it like,
My
can we use, but
my
it's
most
like,
the people closest to me are always Scorpios. My husband, my mom, my dad, my aunt, two of my best friends, all Scorpios. My
so
daughter's a
intense.
Scorpio rising. And
It's so
I'm
intense.
Libra, so I'm like,
I love it.
there's a place for all of us. We can all win.
But I'll say this and then I'll shut up and we can
You're fine.
I'll let you go. But I think that sometimes we don't want to see the end result of what we're doing. Like when people try to recreationally dab in drugs, it's like maybe you need to see somebody, really not doing so well because of drug use to realize, oh, I need to stop doing this. Or if you're
Mhm.
depressed and you have these ideations, I won't say the S word, but you
Mhm.
think about it and you dwell on it and you imagine doing that, maybe realizing, oh wow, like that's horrible, that sucks, that's the end result, like I don't want to do that. Sometimes you have to face the end result to like stop yourself, like stop it in its tracks and say, you know what, let me get my shit together, let me not keep focusing on this, let me heal, and
Yeah,
that's what Violet did for me. So thank you, Violet. I'm so sorry I went into your house and made fun of those photos. That style from back then is actually kind of cool. And shout out to all y'all in the
shout
Waverly
out to
house.
the bonnet. The mask of the hair. Um, yeah, I mean, I definitely want to at least end this with, obviously, if you do struggle with mental health, like, you should see somebody and you should find healing for that. And it's not as simple as the way we put things into words. As somebody who suffers from PTSD and panic attacks, and for you that has gone through depression and whatnot, like, you know, and even in my postpartum, oh my god, like, there's no words for that. So even when you simplify it, it doesn't convey the feeling. So obviously I think we're both very
Therapy.
sensitive to that.
Yeah,
um
therapy led me to magic. I would have not been able to cultivate any sort of magical practice without having seen a licensed therapist. That woman literally saved my life. And if it was not for her, magic is in everything. Magic isn't just in taking a tarot class or going
right.
to a lodge or any of that. Sometimes you need somebody who's actually trained and licensed in mental health to get you to a point where you can actually see what's really in front of you. And so, please, therapy. I love therapy. Shout out to therapy. Get a therapist that looks like you. My therapist was a Black woman with dreadlocked hair, and look at me now. I feel cute or whatever. I'm healing. Thank you, Magic, and thank you, Miss Terry. I won't say your last name.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share something so vulnerable and so raw. And I think this was awesome to, like,
Yeah,
this is real stuff that we need to be talking about. And, not just the love and light, but also the, like, the teetering on the safe side. I think this is important stuff, and maybe it's going to be uncomfortable, but you know what? That's what spirituality is. That's what we are. That's what discovery is. It's all uncomfortable. So thank you for getting uncomfortable.
Thanks for having me. You're the best.
Awesome. If anybody wants to follow you, or if you do, you want to put a little plug in, because I know you got some music and you do some
That's
pretty great
true.
totes and shirts. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I just be out here trying to create because that's the only thing that keeps me excited about life. And I think that's important. You got to have fun. You got to stay excited. You have to be enthusiastic. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Angelica.Cavesea, Cavesea. That's on Instagram. I don't use any other social media platforms because Instagram is overwhelming enough. Also, I'm a musician. I've got some music on all the streaming platforms, Spotify, iTunes, whatever. Same name, Angelica.Cavesea, or it's not dot on those. But yeah, just Google my name, I guess. That sounds pretentious, but if you like
Google me,
me, I
bitch.
like you too. Thanks again. Thank you so much for allowing me this time to share with you and tell these stories. It was really fun. I had a great time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. We'll see you next time, guys.